Dan here with Battlefield Curator. We got a rifle in this box from the James Earl Jones collection. If you don't know, James Earl Jones passed away, and his collection, guns stemming from the 1700s all the way to modern times, was left in his estate and his will to be sold off by a prominent gun store known as Checkpoint Charlie's. Now, they're an online store, and we're not sponsored by them. And I just thought that since the last couple of years they've had a vast number of James Earl Jones guns on their website, I figured, hey, one of these days I might have to get one. So essentially, I found one that I thought was a decent deal. I wouldn't say it was a good deal. I'd say it's probably, you know, a fair market value deal. We're going to unbox it and see what we got here. There we go. All right. What do we got in this box? This box actually has some stuff in there. Look, we got some Checkpoint Charlie swag. We got a Checkpoint Charlie pen. We got Checkpoint Charlie business card and a card from our family to yours. So it's like a personal card here. And another thank you card from Checkpoint Charlie's. They would want me to leave them a review with this QR code. Oh wait, there's more Checkpoint Charlie swag in here. Oh my gosh, what is this? Okay, there we go. Yes, this is the James Earl Jones collection plaque, as well as some Velcro stickies. Now we're gonna unbox this. Are you ready, Fred? Fred. Hey, what's up, buddy? You ready to see what's in here? Let's pull it out. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Fred, I'd have you pull on this, but man, this is not. They definitely packed this in here. They really made sure that this rifle was secured and not going to bust or anything. Yes, they really secured that rifle in there with all this. I don't believe there's anything important in here left. So, we got a bunch of paper to unwrap here. This is like Christmas right now. We got Star Wars Christmas happening. Let's see what Darth Vader gave us for Christmas. All right.
Yes, I got plenty of fire starter.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Oh,
One I just got had about 100 yards of bubble wrap on it. You got the same thing in craft paper.
Oh man. Will, I think we're gonna have fun with this. All right. So.
And what rifle is this?
This is an Italian copy of a Richmond rifle, and the Richmond rifles are they're pretty much the 1862. It's the most produced Confederate long arm of the American Civil War. Now this is a Italian reproduction. It's Armi Sport. So
58 caliber?
58 caliber. And you know, these are while these might not be rare because they're Italian reproductions, the actual Richmond 1862 rifles are pretty rare. And they could fetch probably a few $1,000s at auction. I think I saw an Antiques Roadshow segment where the guy said it could be worth up to $8,000.
Of course, that's if you can prove everything, have good provenance on it.
Yeah. All right. That's the Richmond 1862 reproduction rifle. Not too shabby. We'll flip it around here. Oh man. Look at the lock plate on that.
High hump lock plate.
Yep. Check out the markings here too. The Remington 1862 was a Confederate copy of the 1855. The 1855 would have a Maynard primer, a Maynard tape primer system here, but the Confederacy didn't need that. They would put the lock plates with just a cutout, and there was the high hump, then there was like a mid hump, and then there was a low hump. So there's about 3 different variants of this lock plate. The reproduction here looks like it has a semi-high hump. So yeah, maybe a mid hump. One of the things that was listed about it was that it wasn't in the best condition. You can see that it is got some patina on here. It was somewhat well used, and it probably could get polished with like steel wool or something. You can see like here, down here in this area, it's very shiny. But for some reason up here, you just have a lot of
beginning rust, basically patina.
Yeah, patina there.
Looks good.
Yeah. So what's the first thing we do here to check this rifle? We're gonna get the cleaning rod, and we're going to, oh, look at that. I think we're clear there. There seems to be some oil in there and rust. So we'll
maybe run a patch through it.
Run a patch through it, maybe. Yeah, lands and grooves look pretty good. Everything looks pretty shiny down there. So we ran a patch down the bore, and yeah, it looks like it was well used. Now, did James Earl Jones fire this rifle? Who knows? That would be quite interesting if he did. Chances are more or less that he got it from a local shop or something, and it was used by a reenactor or an enthusiast of some sort. Who knows? This rifle has been around for a long time. Don't exactly know the date on it yet because the date code is covered by the stock. So we'll have to take the stock off to figure out a date code. And just to let you guys know, this is Will with Gunpowder Acres, and we got some battle weather coming in. Yeah.
We'll throw out more black powder smoke and see if it'll make it rain even more than it has already. We need it.
The next safety check here I'm going to do on the rifle is I'm going to pull the hammer back. We're in half cock, so that should be your safety. I'm going to pull back to full cock, and then I'm going to pull the trigger now, and it does go forward. I do notice something else here. We've got some guck lube or something in there. We're going to have to clean that out first. Oh, that's just a bubble of oil. Yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'll put a musket cap in there. I kind of just wiped it off. Put a musket cap on here, and we're going to let it go to see if there's any gunk or anything that comes out the barrel here. Let's go onto the grass. We're going to aim it right here at the grass and see if we see anything come out. Okay, we got a little bit of air come out through there.
I didn't see anything. We might have to... I didn't see any moving the grass or anything.
I did.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I saw it move the grass, so I think we are good to fire it. We can definitely load it up and fire it away. Yeah. And that was weird feeling. The other thing here I want to check is the rear sights. It's a little stiff. Probably could use a little bit of extra lubrication. So we're going to aim for the water jugs. Okay, we are ready to fire here. Ooh, that was not good.
We may have to pull the nipple and do a little cleaning there.
Yeah. That, or there's just a lot of stuff in there. Let's see if we can get another one off here. Nope. All right, so for some reason, my
Let's see if we'll turn it now. Have this loosened up. Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't fit. Yeah, for some reason, the nipple tool doesn't fit, which might just be because this could be an Italian reproduction. It's slightly off, especially if it's an early version. Who knows? Maybe they replaced the nipple with a different nipple of some sort? Don't know. But we are making a work in progress here.
Did have a lot of grease in it. We've cleaned the nipple. Gonna try another one.
Yep.
See how this does this time.
Let's try to see what we got. Nope.
Not good.
So that means that the channel that goes from here into the chamber is obstructed of some sort somehow.
We have one more thing we can try. We can pull the nipple, put a tiny little powder underneath it, screw the nipple back in. All right, this time we put a little bit of powder under the nipple. And let's see if this will light it off.
Okay. Well, it definitely went off.
It worked that
And
time.
we shot the jug. Yeah. Will it work again?
We'll find out.
Let's try it. So what rifle is this, Will?
This is a Harrington and Richardson topper, or New England Firearms, whichever model it is right now. And this is a 58 caliber muzzleloader version. You know, they've made these things in just about everything. Shotguns, rifles, all kinds of calibers.
Wow. I like it.
Short and handy.
Right on.
Compared to your Richmond rifle.
Compared to a long rifle musket, rifle to musket here. Yeah.
Barrel length about there.
Wow. We're going to go for test number 2, 70 grains of black powder. Will, Gunpowder Acres, got this self-cleaning bullet. He's got lubrication in the back here underneath this tin. This gets pushed and the lubricant comes out from the side, the holes in the side. Oh yeah, this one's a little stiff here.
Yeah, that's that beeswax on the outside of it. For someone who'd never shot black powder before, really less than a year ago, you've certainly gotten used to it.
Probably. All right, let's go for that jug yet again.
I believe you got him.
Yeah. What an awesome rifle from the James Earl Jones collection. An Italian reproduction of a Richmond 1862 rifle. Just to give you a little history on why the Confederacy actually made these Springfield 1855 copies called the Richmond 1862. It's because they took over the armory at Harper's Ferry. And they took a lot of the parts and they brought them over to Richmond. And there, from 1861 or 1862, they made about 31,000 of them until Richmond got overrun. This being an Italian copy from the James Earl Jones collection is quite an honor to have in my collection.
I think I'm going to cheat and fire this one seated from a rest. See if I can hit anything at 60 yards with it.
Yo, Will, you hit it. I can see it from here.
Cool.
Yeah, there it is.
It's a nice round hole there.
Yeah, not too bad, Will. Now, you might also be asking yourself why James Earl Jones might have collected a Confederate rifled musket, an Italian reproduction of it. Well, if you see some of his collection, he's got all kinds of Civil War weapons. He also must have really liked how guns worked, the mechanics behind it, and the history behind it, because his collection is so vast, stemming from weapons that are American Revolution era all the way to modern day, and he's got a lot of cutaway weapons in that collection as well, which meant that really a true engineer in firearms might appreciate the cutaway ones. And he was a definite believer in the Second Amendment. He also might have been influenced by his time in the Army. James Earl Jones attended the University of Michigan and was an ROTC cadet. He commissioned as an officer in 1953 and attended Ranger School. He was assigned to Fort Carson, Colorado, where he served as a training officer, training soldiers for the Korean War. One of his rating officers actually wrote, "Lieutenant Jones possesses an outstanding voice and is therefore a natural for instruction." He was honorably discharged from active service in 1955 and remained on reserve status until 1961. He was only ever involved in one movie that was Civil War based, and it was a movie that was about the Reconstruction era, and it's called Summersby. And in that movie he played a judge. But maybe in that movie was he inspired to collect Civil War era weaponry? Who knows? All I know is that he definitely enjoyed many different types of weapons, and he was a very prominent gun collector, and an outspoken gun collector too. Well, I hope this video inspired you guys, and as always, be sure to learn history and curate history. Pulverize the like button, subscribe if you haven't. Make it a great day.